Inside the boardroom.
It probably is timeless. You know why? I respect anybody that was on the Warriors beat during those years.
And take a seat at the conference table.
Guru's great too.
Welcome to the Executive Show.
Nothing easy!
On 95.7 The Game. Brought to you by Yellow Sack. Try a dumpster bag for easy waste removal. Less mess, reduce stress. Budget friendly, clean freely. Call 833-3YELLOW or go to yellowsack.com.
All righty, let's get right to it. Go to the Bud Light guest line. All guests appear on the Bud Light guest line. Bud Light, easy to drink, easy to enjoy. This is the Executive Show, brought to you by Yellow Sack. Let's go out and talk to Zaza Pachuila, who joins us every other week. Hey, Zaza, how you doing?
Hey, guys, I'm pretty good. Excited for tonight's game and looking forward to it.
Yeah, we definitely want to get into the Grizzlies in a sec, but I was hoping you could share some insight with us. So, today in The Athletic, there was a story about Bob Myers and Joe Lacob, and it's now getting out there that Bob doesn't have a contract extension for next year, and it's a little bit unusual. My question to you, and fans are very interested in that, obviously. My question to you is, having been involved in tons of negotiations as a player and as a free agent, like what's something about this process we don't understand from the outside?
Hey, guys, before I answer the question, I want to share my condolences to the victims that got affected in the shooting in Half Moon Bay. It's really a tragic day for us in that Bay Area, not only Bay Area, but the country, the people who live here. And I just want to start with the condolences.
Appreciate that.
Regarding your question, yes, I actually I didn't read today's article, but I read the article that Joe Lacob had to share. And, one thing is it's so glaring, it's so obvious that, both sides wants the deal to happen. And that gives me all kind of confidence that since both sides are motivated, to deal to happen, it will happen. Obviously, sometimes it takes longer. There are some details. There is not only about today, it is about tomorrow. I'm not part of this negotiation, honestly. I have not been in the room or in the call between the two parties. But my sense and my understanding of what I'm hearing and what I'm seeing and what I feel as a part of the Warriors family, that both Joe wants Bob to continue to do whatever he's been doing for years now and done a phenomenal job, an amazing job, obviously. And he's the one of the best, if not the best, in the business. And Bob, obviously, native, Bay Area guy, grew up with, as a Warriors fan, and, obviously, whatever he started, it's not over. It's still a process. It continues, and I know he wants to stay here as well. So that's giving me the confidence, as I mentioned, that deal's going to happen. It's a matter of when.
Zaza, my partner and I were talking, and a lot of times I got to check myself because I think these athletes and these players are like robots, like it's a video game. And Andrew Wiggins, for the last 2 years, Zaza, I don't got to tell you, you saw it up close. He's been so reliable. He's been in a rhythm, and he can do so many things. But since his return from injury, I'm going to call it rust. And I'm telling the people, that's all it is. You've been a player. Walk us through watching Andrew Wiggins and what you see from him and how long you think it'll take before he can get his groove back like Stella.
I agree with you that he's been phenomenal. The last 2 years that we've been seeing since he joined the Warriors. But one thing we're forgetting that it was a very unusual situation for him. He has not missed a lot of time throughout his career with injury. He has not. He doesn't have experience, and it's funny we're talking about an almost 30-year-old Andrew Wiggins, a player. We can call him obviously he's an NBA champion. We can call him a vet, right? He's a veteran in this league and for this team, and doesn't know how to deal with after injury comeback. And that's normal. He doesn't because he's never been in the situation. Luckily, him. Obviously, I'm jealous, and every athlete, I'm pretty sure, professional athlete would be jealous of. Talking about, almost 30-year-olds for the first time getting injured. But, this is part of the game, and it's he has to experience it, and he's going through the experience. But Like I said, most importantly, he feels healthy, so that's the key part, right? And there's no limitations with minutes. There's no limitations with pressure and with load, and he's gonna figure out. It's a matter of the time.
Zaza Pachulia joining us on 95.7 The Game. You know what? That's a great point that you just made, and it's one that I hadn't, and I think a lot of us haven't put in the equation about the fact that he's not used to coming off injury. So really, like that, I really appreciate that insight. Let me ask you about the team in general. You're 20. We've kind of had the same conversation all year because when do you start to worry? But do you give them the benefit of the doubt because they're champions? But this year's different, so we can't count on what happened last year. This year, I was talking to Raymond Ritter, and he's like, well, what do you want to ask Zaza? And I said, one thing I want to ask him is, you guys are 23 and 24. Like, when do you have to start getting moving here?
Well, of course, we would like to, reach that consistency part as soon as possible, right? If you ask anyone, starting from Coach Kerr or, the front office or, even the players, right? So, yes, we would love to. And it's just work in progress, but I don't know how you guys feel and see, but I see signs moving towards that direction, guys. And, seeing the bench playing better than any other time throughout this year, right? So the best that we've seen. And individuals and Dante, with his feeling like, he's been part of the team for a long time. And it's not like, he just signed and he's just trying to figure out how to adapt to the Warriors basketball. I see signs. It's a matter of consistency. I think we need to get consistently, put the things together for 48 minutes and game by game. And I think we're moving towards the right direction.
Zaza, it's kind of unfair, but I'll ask you. Last week I heard Draymond, he was on his podcast, and he opened up and talked about, what happened with him and Poole early on kind of affected his leadership skills and abilities. And, from my vantage point, he's been locked in all year. So the things I'm asking you are behind the scenes, and I know you're around the team. Can you kind of speak to, have you noticed any difference in his leadership? Because when I watch the games, the mannerisms are the same, but can you kind of speak to us about what he kind of was talking about in that clip?
Yeah, probably Jeremiah is the best who can actually tell us or share with us what he feels and how he feels about, prior to that incident versus post the incident. His comfort zone. He can share best, but what I see like a lot of conversations. I see what we've been knowing Draymond of, talking to his teammates and on the court, off the court. Now it might be less, more. I don't know. I'm not just watching Draymond and watching the whole game and other players as well, especially youngsters. But his presence definitely felt, and it's better than what it used to be last month for sure. And we already talked about it. That incident is very unfortunate that it happened. With us, and especially we've been knowing such a great team on and off the court. We've been talking about the chemistries and etc. So it's very unfortunate. But I think we moved on, and yes, there was a damage happened, and at the same time we all understood it was going to take some time to fix it. It would not come overnight, and obviously she started between those two individuals, and Draymond and Jordan. So, I think it's better than what used to be last month, I would say. But beautiful thing is I'm seeing the Draymond and being who he is. Even talking in the locker room after the games, or talking in the huddles before the games. Obviously, this is something that's not showing on TV or not showing on social media, or the fans not having the opportunity to see, but I'm seeing it. I'm seeing it all. So it's just beautiful because we need his leadership, right? That's what he's been down for years and years, and I know a lot of players we benefited, and there's a reason why we're talking about dynasty, because every single individual who's been part of this dynasty is contributed their own way, and Draymond's leadership very, very valuable.
Zaza Pachulia joining us on the Executive Show with Matt Steinmetz and Darryl the Guru Johnson. You got Memphis coming in tonight, and obviously, I don't know whether it's a rivalry or not. You got a little bad blood with them. Let me ask you this, and tell me if I'm right. When you guys were in the championship era, I felt like even though Houston never got by you, I feel like deep down inside, you guys respected Houston for pushing you as far as they did. Now, I may be wrong about that. Maybe your team says they were never going to beat us. But where's Memphis on that respect level, knowing that you guys are 4-time champions and, like, with all due respect, they haven't even become Houston yet?
Yeah, I got to tell you got to respect every opponent. You better respect every single opponent, especially in today's reality, right? And where it's so balanced and nobody knows who's going to win. Compared to 17-18, we were obvious favorites to win, right? And it's not like I started playing basketball with the championship team and I finished my 16-year career with playing for the championship. I've been on the other side too, where we had a lottery team, right? We had we couldn't even make the playoffs. So you better respect every single opponent because, bottom line, you're playing against the NBA teams. And I think that's important for, especially us having the young players, the kids are listening and probably they're going to hear me answering this question. You got to respect your opponent, So talking about Memphis, obviously they're an exciting team, with amazing player, with John Moran, obviously, and really well coached, too. I want to give the coaching staff the credit for what they've done since getting the job, getting the opportunity to lead and coach this young team. And, they've been amazing. They're coming. I think everybody would agree until they win, until they upset, until they beat the teams in the playoffs and go as far as possible, play finals and win the championships. It's hard for me to say, it's a rivalry or whatever, but yeah, they make you think because they play hard and they have talent out there and they're really, really well coached. So either you're Memphis or you mentioned Houston, so any other 29 other teams, I talked about when you have a combination of talent and the blue collar mentality and, there's a team that plays hard, right? While using the talent and skills, and they're well coached. Hey, you better be prepared. You better be focused, right? So you better take it seriously. So that's just my mentality, honestly, and that's how I've been, especially lately after I got my experience.
Zaza, I don't hide my myself rooting for James Wiseman, man. I'm just rooting for him. And today, I feel like I got good news. He's probable. Okay, I feel like he may not play tonight, but his return is imminent. And I look at this Warrior team, and there's not another option. There's not another Wiseman. And I'm like, can he do what JaVale did? Can he do what you did? There's 35 games left. When he does come back, is it realistic for Warrior fans, Zaza, to think he can contribute and help this team going into the playoffs?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, great. It's good. I love the news, too. He's been working hard, especially here. There's such a good stretch of a couple of weeks, with the G League, with coming to, Warriors. He played minutes, got minutes, maybe not, 20-plus or 30-plus, but he's still part of the rotation. So it was a good stretch of a couple of weeks, and then he gets injured. He rolls his ankle. Here he is. He's, I think, 11 games. And it's just exciting to see him back on the court and being able to contribute and play. But, same time, I want to remind you guys how Steve always finds those minutes during the playoffs for these young guys. Talking about Jordan Bell, talking about Patrick McCall. I still remember Game 5 in the finals at home against Cleveland Cavaliers. How amazing Patrick was, right, in his rookie year. And if somebody can figure out, if somebody can put these young guys in a situation to succeed and contribute and help this team, I think it's our coaching staff and Steve Kerr, obviously, because he's done it, he's proven, and you never know. Obviously, it goes from series by series. It depends who we're going to face. It depends who we're going to play against, because especially for the big men, his matchup thing is serious. It's real. We've seen it, from small ball to the big lineup. But again, toughest job, one of the toughest job actually, is to be ready, to stay ready, and just waiting until your name is called, and until that opportunity comes to you, right? And it might be the game where you're just not expecting, right? You might not be thinking, actually, you know what, when we're playing against Denver, for example,
right.
It's Jokic is somebody that we focus on. We need bodies, we need big men out there, right? So, or it can be any other game, right? Against Houston or whoever, right? So, anyway, so that's the toughest part, and actually, Ty Jerome was talking about it. I mean, he went through. I don't know if you guys heard his podcast when he was talking with Andre Iguodala, and that was the biggest challenge for him, right? I mean, even though he knew he was ready, knew he could have played and contributed, especially having such a successful career in his college. NBA offers you different challenges, and one of the challenges for the youngster is, when it's not consistent, when my minute's going to come, when my name is going to get called, right? So there's a mental aspect, I think. Most of that, I don't want to say every, because there are rookies that are getting consistent minutes, but there are some players that, it's not guaranteed that they're going to play consistently every single night. So it's a matter of stay ready physically and mentally.
Yeah, it's always an issue for a young player. Hey, Zaza, thank you so much for joining us. Really appreciate it. We'll talk to you in a couple weeks.
Always great talking to you guys.
All righty, that was Zaza Pachulia, and this was The Executive Show.